Very good evening, friends, and a very warm welcome to a session that is going to be very exciting and very engaging between two multi talented individuals, author Anandajit Goswami and drama therapist and teacher and writer Shuktara Lal. The discussion is going to be on the book Lucy and the Rise of the Parabola. So before I hand over the session to Shuktara, I will quickly introduce the two the two personalities. I start with Anandajit Goswami, has a PhD in energy economics and policy from Terry School of Advanced Studies and a master's in international trade and economics from the Jawaharlal Nehru University, where he was also a Ford Foundation Scholar, which was earned through a merit based entrance and relative grade based semester system. In the past, he has also worked with the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI, and TERI School of Advanced Studies. At TERI School of Advanced Studies, Anandajit taught several courses like the Art and Sustainability, Economics of Sustainability, Mathematics for Sustainability for 8 years. Anandajit, thank you once again for being on this forum, and I wish you all the very best for this session. Shuktara Lal, she's a drama therapist and counselor, teacher, and theatre director. She privately counsels clients, individuals, couples, and groups, and is attached to the NGOs Kolkata Sanved and Children in Pain as a drama therapist. Shuktara teaches speech and drama at the Calcutta School of Music and theatre at the Garden High International School. She also directs, writes, and works with the publishing house Writers Workshop. Shuktara, we are delighted to have you with us this evening, and all the very best to you. And it's all yours now. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to talk about this book. This is the book that we are talking about. I think what I'd like to start with asking Anandajit is, first locating it a little bit, because I think what's really exciting about the book is how in tune it is with what's happening um, in our present lives in the world. We are all living in a pandemic, and I think for a lot of us, specifically for me, if I'm speaking completely for myself, was when the pandemic broke, it really felt dystopic. It felt like we were in the middle of a dystopic novel, in the middle of a dystopic TV show. It felt like we were right in things that we have only watched or read. So my first question to you really is, Anandajit, what this world that you have created, it's extremely complex, it's very nuanced. How did you talk us through the way in which you plotted this narrative and created the characters within, in a kind of in a prescient way, in a way in which, by which I mean, I say that because this is obviously the third in a trilogy. So there was obviously a plan that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, preceded the pandemic. So if you could talk us through your writing process a little bit in what made you create this, what were the prompts that made you create this world, as well as talk us through the key elements that you feel are in absolute connection with what's happening in our lives today.
Actually, there were many trigger points for me. So if I think now, if I divide the trigger points, say some are internal, some are external. So if I try to reflect and introspect, say what was happening to my own mind from the age of 10 to 33, from where I think I actually, so right now I'm 41 plus. So I trace back almost 8 years back, the process of Lucy started somewhere around 2009. So it is actually a little bit more, 12 years, now 13 years back. Many triggers. I think a psychosis, and I don't deny that. I think the social triggers, things around me, uh, have always created a feeling of psychosis within me, and I think society lives in a schizophrenia these days. When I say that, I mean it. I think the society also is schizophrenic in a way. I mean, the definition of schizophrenia. I mean, you you are a counselor, so I was reading a book called What is Madness by Daniel Lerner. Very recently, I completed that book. It deals with about several case studies all across the world. And the more I was reading the book, I was also relating to my own self and what triggered me towards the process of creating and these complex layers of every character and the world. So, at every stage of my own shaping up of my own life journey, it was these inward triggers and the outward triggers. So the outward triggers are not necessarily a big event also. I mean, a big event like say a, a failed deal in an international platform of climate change. That's a big event. But there are many small little events, say every day what I watch also can create a social psychosis within me. I can get into a feeling of us and them. I can get into a feeling of paranoia. I can get into a feeling of an intellectual libido within me when I see that trigger. And that external trigger also helps me to create that layer. And I'm not shying away from using those words because I think somewhere Lucy is a kind of a prosthetic symbolism there for me. I mean, all across the world, there every day there are millions of manuscripts. Everyone is writing. I mean, let us try to understand. And I see myself as a very just a drop in that world of prosthetic symbolism. I'm sure there are so many people who are trying to heal themselves, who are going through a very similar world of chaos, both within and what is happening outside. I just tried to feel it, and I know where I was telling the other day someone that my best number is always zero. The reason of being that zero number is that I also don't like to sometimes use the word author with all due recognition. I'm saying that I think I deliberately try to create imageries where I shift the power of my characters from the author towards the readers, or I put myself towards the position of a spectator. So I don't really like to over glorify myself as an author of Lucy. I think I am representing a larger hysteria, or representing these are the same inward and outward chaos which is constantly happening between each one of us. So I've not done a great magic by doing that. Well, what I have just done is that yes, I have documented, I have narrated it, I have connected it, I have communicated it, I have jotted down through a process day in and day out how these things are layer after layer connected, and the layers are not ending. I mean, I don't see a book just like as an entry point, as an exit point with a beginning of a sentence with a full stop. I don't see any of my books like that. I see my books as a kind of a spectrum in this inward and outward journey. And Lucy is exactly like that. Somewhere I tried to place myself in that spectrum way back in 2009. That spectrum is still continuing. And if you see that the ending of the book also, that's why it ends in a spectrum. Though the
Yeah.
sentences are ending, the book is deliberately ending in a spectrum because I want to shift that power. And as the French critic Mallarmé Prost had once said, I'm sorry, I'm using again a French citation, but yes, there are many other examples of citation from regional languages and regional literary critic also, that mm, uh, the excellence of creation will be when you can shift the power in the hands of the spectator or reader, where immediately after producing it, I become a zero and I am not an author anymore. So I think it is that journey which I have categorically I have always tried in every creation of mine. I have tried to create that imagery. So that's, I'm sure that you also have gone through that your own imagery journey while while reading about Lucy. I mean, I'm sure there are many images in your mind also which you have created and which you will completely disagree, you will not like, but that's precisely what I want. I want to
Yeah.
shift that power and submit myself. Uh, uh, Lucy is submitting herself to that chaotic connection within these inward and outward layers, which is a kind of a simultaneous relationship. And we can pick up events. I mean, I'm just not getting to the nitpicking of the detailing of the events. And there are many events. It happens every day in our lives. Some events can be at a global, some events can be at a very minute level, some events can be at a relationship level. Some Every event is important, I think, for the journey. And what I have done is that I have just observed those events. I have tried to feel through those events. I have tried to push myself through those events where I am being powerless to those imageries of the events. And that has been the process. And even for my next book, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I don't restrict myself to a timeline. I really don't like to restrict myself to a deadline when I write the book. I don't like to restrict myself. Okay, well, by this time I have to publish. By this time I have to sell so many copies. By this time I have to. I don't like to do that. I know even though there is a commerce associated with that, maybe I also have to take care of my publisher who has been extremely gracious, and I'm extremely grateful to my publisher Loxe Hall and to my book agent, the book bakers, who showed faith in the experiment, and without them this would not have happened. So somewhere I definitely owe to them a lot. But the and they also believed in this process. I mean, trust me, it is also a process of them. I owe it to them also. If they would not have believed in this process, how could I have created this? For instance, I mean, they believed in that, this time taking process, this experimental process, and that's why the book has come out. So I also don't like to glorify myself that okay, it is my process. No, it is a process of my co-author also, Devashish Da, who
Yeah.
has believed in me, who has believed in me from 2002. We know each other from 2002. So I see it as a collective process of this, where we all collectively are trying to bring out this psychosis in the society, psychosis within us, and the inherent schizophrenia in us. I don't think schizophrenia is a bad word. We all, humans by inherent nature, are a little schizophrenic. It is how do we see? I mean, schizophrenia is actually a spectrum of 40 elements. It is in that spectrum where we are located. And that's why I said that when I today try to understand dystopia, I try to sometimes see it as an element of a social schizophrenia. I mean, is dystopia kind of a social symptom of a schizophrenia? I mean, look how crazily we are all. The other day I was thinking of, okay, well, in other contexts, I'm just little diverging. I was trying to think of the libertarian and communitarian values, how Gandhi's thoughts, when Gandhi distinctly criticized the Christian missionaries, and Gandhi was criticizing the caste oppression in his own time, how Gandhi was also questioning the Hegelian thought, which was pushing the communitarian thinking of missionaries, whereas Gandhi in a very distinct way was also, through his own politics, taking the side of the libertarian kind of a principle, though he was mostly using religion and theology in his as a weapon. But what was interesting was that he understood this social psychosis in his own time, and even in his writings. If you see,
Yeah.
the writings are so simple. The writings are so simple, but you can understand that that man understand layers of the social psychosis. And I think this will continue as long as the society exists. Dystopia will be there. I mean, imagine the way colonization happened. It is nothing less than dystopia. I mean, how can a certain set of people take a decision to divide an entire continent, say like Africa, which was just 4 regions, to multiple countries? I mean, if you go back, if you trace the history is full of dystopia. The history, we don't need to think of new dystopia. Dystopia is already there in this phenomenon that has happened on this mother earth. So maybe I have just introspected out of that. So I really don't deserve so much of credit. Well, yes, I have done the hard work, and that much I deserve. I have done the hard work. That's it. Nothing else. my co-author also deserves credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, in fact, I should immediately mention that because for people who are tuning in right now and who will be tuning in later, Anandajit is one of the authors. The other author is Debashish Chakraborty. So it's a co-authored book, which itself is something that I'd like to talk about that actually. It's it would be lovely to have had both of you because then we could have talked about the concept of co-writing, co-creating, and how that works. But I agree with and I resonate with what you were saying in the sense of the very active role of the reader, and I think that applies to any book that one reads because obviously reading is a very very personal process, and how we read, how we interpret is extremely subjective. And I'm sure what you were saying was reminding me of Calvino's writing, and also the fact that this is the first book I am reading in the trilogy, right? It's the third book, but it's the one that I am
Yes.
reading, and it did not I did not feel like I was entering in a vacuum. I did not feel like I was entering without context. It did really actually feel a bit like being in a parabola where time is it's a continuum, and I'm in this moment, and but I enjoyed the fact. I think it was very much it felt in sync with your structure. The fact that I did not have to have read book one, book two to get to book three. I could, and I think it's nice to think about. I've read the third book. I might now go back to the first book and then get to the second book. It's a nice sort of it's flexible, and I appreciated that. It actually reminded me again of Philip Pullman's trilogy, where I think his Dark Materials, where I started with Subtle Knife, I think the second one, and then I moved to the first and the third. So I perhaps this is an arguable point to make, but um, I think it's a testament to good writing when a book stands by itself. It might be a part of a trilogy, but it doesn't also have to be a part of a trilogy. It can be just a work in itself. So that's something that definitely struck me about this book. But what one of the things that I would like to circle back to is uh, is climate change, because that's something that where not I mean obviously it's something that all of us are extremely aware of, but I there are sections in your book which really reminded me uh, of webinars that are happening, which the Commonwealth Foundation is organizing on the divide, right, between islands who don't have anything but are suffering the consequences of countries who have the power to do something but aren't. So when there are a few portions that couple of portions that I just wanted to read in this context. Mm, yeah, so this is towards the beginning. It's from a section called the presentation. He was silently wondering how the scientists were going to grill him when they heard about the man made artificial geostationary satellite called Ilios in space, functioning as a space city. What would be the reaction of the environmentalists when they heard that in the post apocalyptic world, wealthy individuals will leave the climate refugees to create their own livelihood in the reef and shift it to the more comfortable smart islands by naming it Eden? And the politicians were surely going to sneer at the failure of the future human folk to negotiate hard with artificial intelligence coming from another galaxy to protect their rights. This was one section, and then a little later, this is on page 92. However, humans by nature strive to move towards power inequality structures. Equality of power and social egalitarianism are often short lived concepts, as the human mind, with no boundaries, always distorts reality and brings a new reality of unequal power distribution. The human civilization thrives, survives, and often progresses from the self perpetuating seeds of unequal power distribution. All these happen in our planet Earth too. We all saw it after the great negotiation at the ship. The negotiation, which was supposed to end all of these unequal structures, the negotiation, which was supposed to end all of these unequal structures, did enable a creation of inequality. Maybe it never and is not supposed to end. So, I think, I mean, the way in which you really uh, spotlighted the inequality of power, the complete absence of sharing of power, the suffering on account of countries who aren't doing enough, to put it to be euphemistic about it. Um, I'm I'm curious. I mean, I would like you to talk a little bit more about these things, about these elements, because again, I mean, I know that obviously this book is targeted towards, or one of the readership base is for young readers. But at the same time, I would not qualify it like that. I feel like it's a book that can be read by any age group. But because obviously the protagonist is somebody who is a young girl. Um, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you can talk a little bit about this to draw in young readers, basically. And also, I mean, I say this, uh, young Indian readers, because it's not something, I mean, yes, of course we have Indian writers who do focus on science fiction and dystopic writing, but it's still a lesser number. And I do want you to talk about these elements a little bit, to because this is what I feel is something that readers in the country should be, I mean, students in the country should be reading, and of course, other demographics as well.
So let me start from where today our discussion started. You know, as a child, from childhood till now, three things about which I have been very triggered internally and externally both is power, timelessness, and greed. So these three, and sorry, the fourth one is inequality also. These four words. I'm not getting to the theoretical jargon and all onto the depth of it, but these four concepts they have created a kind of a fear psychosis, a kind of anxiety, a kind of trauma also within me. And I've always tried to explore, okay, what is essentially what is power? I'm still searching for. I mean, it is power, understanding power, inequality, greed, and timelessness. These four concepts, I mean, it has taken me from places to places, and right now I'm just getting more lost in spiritual and theological reading, and I'm reading extensively on Indian thought now. I mean, I think that is where after thinking about all these things, finally have landed up in Indian thought, which I am that reading I'm doing for my upcoming book, on a book on violence, identity, and culture, which I'm writing for quite some time now, on an issue of power, violence, identity, and culture, with intermediariness in within our psychology. I mean, what is the concept of being an intermediary person in a society like us? When I say intermediary, I'm trying to say that what is like to be a person who is spectrum in everything, or someone like who was even confused in front of you in the green room also, who who was struggling to which chapter to pick up. I mean, what does the society do to a person like that? Is it, what does it mean in terms of equity for a person like that? And I'm using a word person categorically. I don't want to put a gender construct, a sexual construct, a biological construct, a sexual right. No, nothing. I'm using the word person intentionally, being aware of the politics around that word. So if you see these lines, these are actually somewhere, I mean, as I said, the Lucy series has been a prosthetic symbolism for me. I mean, each of these paragraphs have just come out also as my own uh, deep questioning over the years. I mean, I don't know how many years. I'm I'm just nomadically driving. I'm just uh, wayward and carelessly driving around these questions, and I've not got any answer. And I'm not going to, as I'm saying, I'm not going to any discipline. Sometimes I've gone and knocked to the door of a discipline of economics. It has given me some answers. I was not satisfied. Sometimes I knocked to the door of political science. I got certain direction. I was not satisfied. Then I went and knocked to the discipline of sociology, anthropology. I was not satisfied. Then I went to the discipline of gender rights to understand these questions. I was not satisfied. I went to the door of international relation literature to understand these concepts. I was not satisfied. So maybe, and that has set in a psychosis also within me. And when I'm saying me, I'm a representation of many in this case. And I'm sure the same holds for many people in this society across countries. It's not India specific. I'm sure this is holding across many countries. This feeling transcends the geographical borders. And I wanted to put that because it's more of like that. I wanted to. So these paragraphs, if you see that way, they're just platforms where I'm sure I'm triggering a very similar kind of thought of very similar like-minded people who are also hovering around in different discipline and their doors, and they're trying to seek an answer and not getting an answer, and that restlessness goes then within you, and then you look for a prosthetic symbolizer, in this case not a signifier or a signified but a prosthetic symbolizer. Which are these words, which are these paras, which are these imageries, and I have to then take a plot. So the plot is okay, well, the plot is the easy layer which is right in front of you, but I don't think plot is most important. I think it is the journey of mind which is more important. Plot will easily come. Plot always comes as a byproduct. Again, that's my take. I mean, I'm sure uh, uh, that has been a take of anyone in the creative space. Any co-author, my co-author also will agree with that. Devashista, plot comes. I'm sure even in your mind, 1,000 plots come every day. But why the plot is coming? That's most important. Why a certain plot is coming? Okay, why do I select one plot? I have to convince before writing the plot. I should not just write plot for the sake of okay. I have done one, two, now three, then four, then five. No, I don't like to do that. As I said that I will like a number zero. So the trilogy number is three, but as you said, it is a distinct identity by itself. Because
Yeah.
after reading three, and that's where the challenge was. How do we make three, two, one in a way that they are distinct, and then after every reading you feel that you are a zero. It's just is that ecstatic joy, and then you release the star is just burst, a star which explodes and then collapses. How can each book distinctly create that feeling in the reader's mind where the author becomes powerless? So every successful reading, I don't consider it in terms of appreciation for my work. Frankly speaking, I really don't. I mean, but if a reader feels that vacuum, if a reader feels that, well, the reader is also feeling like a zero after reading the book. Or as you said, the reader feels okay, it has a distinctness, it has that uniqueness, it has that authenticity. And I think any authenticity in any creative work finally is like a release of certain things. Is that release happening? I mean, in your theater also, that's the thing. I mean, how do you act one? What is that best when you think that okay, this was the best, even in terms of so many rehearsals? Many times it happens with me. My rehearsals are better than when I go for a track recording, and then I feel bad. I think that
Mm.
I wish I could have recorded the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Actually, in the rehearsal, I actually became a zero, but in the track, I'm still getting concerned about certain
Mm.
modalities, certain crafts which are binding me. But I don't think that's the best art. Maybe the rehearsal space was a better art. So the same thing happens also in this book writing, at least in the Lucy space. I mean, these lines are deliberately done to get the youth into this space of searching these doors, knocking these disciplines, and try to get to in this act of being powerless. I think
Yeah.
if everyone if humbly attempts to become powerless, the society will be much cleaner. And
Hmm.
here I when I say cleaner, again I will give an example of Gandhi and Swaraj. Most people think that Swaraj, I mean Swaraj is it's actually it's the mind, it's the state of the mind. I mean it is that self purification journey where I mean I was reading a very interesting two interesting papers on, we all know about the debates between uh, Tagore and Gandhi, and the Young India articles which Tagore was constantly arguing. They were the best friends also, but how actually Tagore and Gandhi were both talking of an universalization of the mind in two different ways. So that has been what I am thinking right now. And
Yeah.
there I am thinking that both were talking of libertarian views, but their paths were a little different. Their path structures are different, but
Hmm.
where is that convergence happening? So for me, it is trying to just set a convergence path. I know Shuktara's, if I may call you Shuktara, can I call you
Of
Shuktara?
course. Yeah.
So if Shuktara's path will be different than any other reader, but are we all converging towards that path of that powerlessness, towards that zero? And then maybe the world and the society will be there. Even though it's an utopian thinking, the world can never be free of any power or inequity, or we all know that. I mean, but can we be in that path? Can we be in that path of knocking the doors together, where I have shifted my power of being an author to your hand?
Hmm.
Uh, can I have I done that? Have I done it with the youth of this country? Have I done it with
Yeah.
the youth of say the small island states? Have I done
Yeah.
that with other island countries? If I have been able to do that, I think yes. I mean, somewhere the purpose of the book is done.
Hmm. Yeah. No, thank you for that. Because I think you're reminding me of certain things that I had felt at a. I mean, I think when one reads again, there are a lot of things that happen. So you have a sort of there is the overtone in terms of your interpretation, by which I mean it's sort of like it's the overarching kind of interpretation. And then there are these other things that you're feeling, or they're sort of washing over you, but they're there, but they're at a slightly lower level. And so the things that you were talking about in terms of just this, like what you were saying about how colonization itself is something that's dystopic. I'm really glad you brought that out, because I think what happens with with people like us, by which I mean people who come from a certain kind of privilege, people who have access to a lot of privilege, basically, and potential access to power, or I mean, power is obviously a hierarchy, but people like us do have a certain amount of power. I think what colonization is something that, I mean, there are people like us who have been lucky enough to not have experienced explicit colonization compared to others in different parts of India, where rights are not as where everyday life itself is a challenge, right? I mean, without being very specific over here, um, that's that is one of the, I mean, that the colonization exists in different forms even now. And I think with what happened with the pandemic is that it it took away a lot of things that we took for granted, and it forced us to experience a very palpable absence of power. That too, of course, within this spectrum too, obviously, we are still, while we were denied and we didn't have the kind of access that we usually have, we still had more access than others. But because we didn't have the kind of access we were used to, um, the dystopia, which is the word that I had used, was that much more stark. And I think what your book does over here is it it I mean, this is what I was talking about. The undertone is it makes you feel how lonely change making can be. Um, and I don't mean that in necessarily a sad way, but I mean, of course, the fact that it's a struggle, the fact that it's something that is you're up against a lot. Um, and I think you you walk a very subtle line over here in, and it's not something. And I think over here again, I would agree with you if you were to tell me that this is my interpretation. It's not something that you potentially had thought of. But I think that the way in which Lucy, for example, she is essentially by herself. She doesn't really have friendships are ephemeral. If that if that was my sort of the undertone that was left with me in the book, and even with the other characters, so that sense of everybody being connected to something bigger, but essentially in the moment being by themselves or being with people who might not be there all through. I found that very I mean, I feel like it really, again, it sort of it connects with all of our lives, particularly people who, what you were talking about, that desire to make readers want to do something more. And perhaps by reminding the reader very gently that it's a lonely job.
Yeah, the other you absolutely, you are right. I mean, I'm so glad that someone actually asked and picked up this point. Uh, Actually, the Lucy series also is a kind of my subtle undertoning about brokenness, ephemerality, and loneliness. The act and the process of being lonely, the act and process of being broken, the act and process of what does it mean to feel broken every second? What does it mean to always feel ephemeral from the day you are born? What does it mean? And yes, very subtly, Lucy is ephemeral. Lucy, I mean, that's why the dreams are petering out, the dreams are. And I mean, you must have watched this series. I have not completely watched. One of my good friends suggested me to watch this series, Leftover. You must have seen Leftover
No,
in Disney Hotstar. I
no.
did not watch it. It is number two now. It was an HBO original series in
Okay.
2017, and the number one was Chernobyl, and this is the second. So they
Okay.
have three seasons. I saw the first season. I have not seen the second and the third, and the not only the first. In the first season, I have seen till the eighth, eight and a half episode.
Hmm.
Frankly speaking, so I need to do more homework, but I could not go beyond that. The entire apparently it's a science fiction plot, but actually the entire series is about ephemerality. The entire series is about the virtue of being broken, the virtue of being lonely, the virtue of being the sense of loneliness, the sense of the purpose of loneliness.
Hmm.
So yes, I mean the undertoning of Lucy is when you read it, it's somewhere I have tried to stuck that chord of ephemerality. Even in my own music compositions, that's if you hear my compositions, so that ephemerality comes again and again in the melody, in the rhythm structures also, in the patterns, in the ups and downs of the rhythms. Uh,
Yeah.
Maybe it is coming from a construct, but yes, yes, you are right. I think in the writing journey, in the writing process, yes, it was always there. And I think with whatever I create, it comes because ephemerality also is something I have also been very perplexed by this when I said that the four words that I used, which was greed, and then timelessness, then inequality and power. something also which I was always very confused, and I still think every day that can there be an ephemerality to these words and concepts? Can there be a
Mm.
transcorporeality in the sense that it just passes by us, just like we are those shady energies, and it is just coming and passing by.
Mm.
Finally, the mind's conscious state is a kind of that ephemerality. Can I be in that state where everything is passing by me in a corporeal way, in an ephemeral way? And that's
Yeah.
where that's where the plot comes. Lucy's dream. Why did I use dream? Why did I first use that dream as a concept? Is to stuck this cord of loneliness and ephemerality.
Mm.
And this I have not told anywhere, but yes, you are right. I mean, and as I mentioned, that the plot comes. The plot
Yeah.
will always come. It is this process of the journey uh, that creates the plot. I don't agree with that. I mean, there is one kind of a creation where people actually decide a plot and then try to justify it because there are certain parameters of success around that. I don't like to do that way. And
Mm.
precisely that's the reason the third book itself is a book by itself, because
Yeah.
someone can read from 3 to 1 also, not 1 to 3, because it has not been purposely done that, well, I have to first write 1 then 2 then 3. No, not that way. It is being written as a distinct process by itself, where anyone can move back and forth, because it is a journey of an infinite continuity
Yeah.
in each one of us. Yes, you are right, and I agree with what you're saying.
No, and again, like I was, what you were saying, it just reminded me of also how death or the absence of a person plays such a big role in. No, I mean, I'm sort of belittling it by saying that what I mean is how we remember people. I think that plays a very, again, it's a love, you've dealt with that in a very lovely way. Um, because finally, when a person dies, the person who dies, the people who are alive remember them, right? So they live through the memory, through the remembering of them. And whether it's somebody like Gandhi, by which I mean somebody who has that massive legacy, massive influence, massive presence, or whether it's a character in your book. I don't want to give away too much over here, but your book to some extent kind of starts with the death and the influence of that character on others in the book through the way in which they remember things that that character said. And that again, I think, ties up in a very interesting way with just that concept of how alone we are in this world, how each one of us is basically this consciousness which is moving, and into these individual consciousnesses, others are coming in, but finally the journey is ours and ours alone. And you do this in a you take it, you extend it, and you make a character move back and forth in time. And that itself is something that's it's a lonely process. But what I said before and what I will say again is what I liked, and I think this is both of your it's something that both of you did very well in the book, is never making it depressing, never making it they're alone, but they're not isolated, if that makes sense. So, and I think it's a difficult line to walk. And I think you did that very well. And I think there's something, it's sort of like as writers, both of you are holding your readers, telling them that yes, you are alone, but there are a lot of people like you alone doing the same thing or wanting to do the same thing. And that I think
Yeah.
that
Yes.
messaging is something I appreciated.
Yes, and I think it's easy to write about that, the world falling apart, about loneliness, but it is difficult to take both sides of the journey and then hold back to your reader, because finally the act is to give the power to the reader, and that's the difficult task. And that's what I have always felt. I mean, when we were writing, and when I started Lucy series, and then when Devashis joined me from the second one, this is what I have always told him, that this should be the vision. I mean, we will do this experimentation, we will do this journey. I mean, there are certain, that how I have used somewhere, and rather we used somewhere, uh, Madhyam's descendant
Yeah.
intentionally. That I'm not mentioning, rather we are not mentioning the character again and
Yeah.
again. There's a reason, because of the transcorporeality of the conscience which is moving, which leads me to the question that what is a character at the end of the day?
Mm.
What is a character? Is it a body image? Is it a certain outward projection? Is it a mind projection? Is it a consciousness projection? Is it a
Mm.
spectral projection? I have stayed confused all throughout my life about these questions, and also the memories. So yesterday I was uh, watching the documentary, and I completed watching two times the interesting documentary on Rashid Irani. Rashid Irani, the famous film critic who died in July last year.
Mm.
Fantastic documentary. It's a 55 minutes documentary about his life, and it's a must watch for people, about memories and how he lived his life, and how he was a man who has always lived lonely. The concept of loneliness, but still, uh, he has holded himself. Now, how for a man like Rashid Irani, an event like a lockdown or a pandemic, what does the pandemic do to him? So it's a very interesting watch, and the area that you are referring to, I think this documentary you will enjoy. It's
Right.
available in Vimeo. How it is impacting a person like Rashid Irani? What is happening to him? He's a person. He's interested. So, like over the years, they have owned a business of tea, the tea selling tea, samosa, cha in the old Bombay. So he's saying, I'm
Mm.
lonely, but for me, these characters are important. That's how I lived my life, observing the characters in old Mumbai, sorry, not Delhi, old Mumbai, in that old fashion, imagining Niagara, imagining Marilyn Monroe in the roads of old Mumbai while I am moving, and suddenly they are not there because of Corona.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
take the journey of this man, Rashid Irani. Similarly, so these are the questions of ephemerality. So he defines loneliness in a certain way, but he's
Mm.
not glorifying it. He's also holding it. He's not taking it. He's struggling, but he's also holding it. In the sense, how
Yeah.
do you hold yourself? And that's where we started the discussion. So when you said the point colonization, I was smiling and laughing at my own self. I think you and I mean, don't take me otherwise. You and I, we are elites, but we are also colonized. We are colonized by, say, our own Insta world. We are colonized by we can't, and it's a
Sure.
normal. We have to be colonized. So everyone is colonized. Everyone in a society is colonized. I mean,
But some more
it
than
is the
others.
some more than the others, and
Yeah.
it is the politics of colonization. So that's what I
Yeah.
said. I mean, inequity, colonization, powerlessness,
Absolutely.
greed.
Yeah.
uh, it's everyone. I mean, if we think that we are not colonized, it's wrong, and we are also colonized. Our colonization structures are something that we need to think about. So it is that negotiation. So
Yeah,
sometimes I
absolutely.
think, today I
And we're
was
also,
coming just.
and like that's the tricky part, right? Because we're also perpetuating, um by existing in certain ways, we are, and by doing certain things, we are perpetuating acts of colonization. So of course, yeah,
Yes, yes.
absolutely.
Even say, when I am an elite. I'm an elite in a country like India. I have a roof in front of
As am I. Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
I'm privileged. I have got education in JNU. I've got education in a South Point school, South Point High School, well-known institutions. It's
Yeah.
a other matter of fact whether I want to talk about them, because I really don't like also boasting of institutions, because it pains me. In a country like India, I am privileged. My parents took that pain to give me that privilege.
Yeah.
But then when people boast of acting in that institution, that's a kind of colonization. That's a counter colonization also. So it is very subtle that if we also are elites are also in the garb of certain forms of colonization. A poor in the street of Delhi is also under a certain garb of colonization in a certain kind of a power structure. So that is the door I want people to knock. That's what Lucy 3 is all about.
Right, yeah, yeah. I so a couple of things because we are nearing the end, and I would like you to read something, a portion that you feel either ties up to what we've been talking about, or something that you feel you would just like to. It's something that you would like to share with people tuning in this evening. That's part one of the question. Part two is whether you'd like to talk a little bit about this very unusual space of two writers. How did the two of you write together and separately?
It was as I said, Devashish and I know each other from 2002,
Right.
and it was seamless, and I think she understands me, and this I have said again and again multiple times, and he the way he nurtured my passion for ephemerality, lonely journey, knocking. So he has to be there to also to give a shape. Sometimes I get too experimental, so he will guide me. And what
Mm.
I do in the writing process, I completely submit myself to him. Because when I write, I really don't hold an ego of an author. I don't. I
Yeah.
don't. But sometimes yes, initial days of writing, you still hold on to an ego of your creation. But I think uh, I like to I like to submit myself, completely surrender myself also to the hands of the reader. If someone who is completely disliking my work, it's a difficult journey. It has been difficult for me also. I am still learning. I am not in the process of doing it, but yes, I think I have learned that trick. Uh, so it is again because I believe in the ephemerality of that submission to my co-author. So my co-author has the full right even of rejecting everything that I have said, and many times it has happened, but that's it, because I see it is that if my co-author, I give myself to him completely in that space, I know somewhere it will touch the chords of many. uh,
Mm.
that's that's one way of the process. And yes, I mean, he also shows lot of faith in so the vision that I set in the process, the structure, the first drafts, the second drafts which I sent to him. He has always shown faith in those ideas. And but yes, then he will also say that if we do this, if we can't, if we do that, and then he will because as I said, the act of this writing is not holding power. It's not
Yeah.
holding the ideational power. Even that is a kind of a colonization that I will keep on my own mind. I can get
Mm.
colonized by my own thinking.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
this itself is that journey, that how I am being decolonized, at least by my
Yeah.
co-author.
Yeah.
Am I being able to do that?
Yeah.
Can I take that lonely journey where I am completely decolonized by my co-author? And
Mm.
that's why I said, I mean, that's where it's that relieving of being a zero at the end of every chapter.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm gonna like I have to. This is a curious question. It's a curious question. It's also a puerile, corny question. If the two of you had to sort of like choose characters in the book, who would you be? Who would both of you be? Like for example, if say one of you was Lucy and the other was Peter Jacob, which would be who would be who? And
No,
I
I can't.
preface this again.
I,
I say this
I
again that
will.
it's a silly question.
Yes, I will not definitely comment on his behalf. He has the full right to be. So I will not. I mean, that's Devashish's decision.
Yeah.
But if you ask me the kind of a confused person on certain things, I will like to be both
Right. Yeah.
Lucy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because I think the ephemerality of the spectrum has created both the characters. So I think
No, no, absolutely. Yeah.
mm,
This
so
was I would say one of like yeah, it's as I had said, it's a corny question. It's not it's not an intellectual
and
question at all.
I
But now
I I I have always been a very bad score getter, so I will not like to score 90, 50. Maybe I will actually like to get multiple marks for the same question. So that's
Yeah, but that also allows for the continuum. But now over to you. Before we close, if you could read something from your book.
so I think I will read from this section uh, the presentation in the page 18. I will start reading from the page 18. Just once again. Just hold on, Shuktara, once again.
Sure, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Just one second. I have a guest who has come. One second. I sorry, I have to tell the guest to wait. Okay, fine. Okay, the I will like to read the presentation. Okay,
Yeah.
page 18. So the first three paragraphs. October 7, 2016. Peter Jacob was in office. Peter Jacob was in his office, tense, eyes closed. An open pad was lying in front of him, but he had not written a single line on that in the last 2 hours. He was actually confused where to start. He was also yet to believe the events that had taken place yesterday. Yesterday, the Solis research team had conducted their second experiment with Lucy. Sent forward to 2250 and being able to participate as a young lady through the virtual reality experiment, Lucy, with her mind, mapped a series of possible events that could overshadow the future of planet Earth. Peter let out a groan of agony. He had to make a presentation in front of the Earth Supreme Council that night. He was musing on the series of questions the group of genius scientists, passionate environmentalists, skeptic politicians, sustainability artists, and hardened bureaucrats was going to pose tonight after hearing about Lucy's journey. The possible future course of the civilization would amaze everyone. He himself would not have believed them had he not been monitoring Lucy's dream continuously. So that is the cue, the last line. Finally, it's about that Lucy's dream and the continuum which we were talking of. So that's it. Thank you.
Normal.
Okay, thank you so much for that enthralling discussion, Shuktara and Anandajit. But before we wind up, there are two questions from author Devika Das. If you can quickly revert to them, I'll just read it out for you. What should we do to spread awareness about the impact of colonization and the British rule? That's number one. And number two is, what were the challenges you faced in finding a publisher for your subject in the times of skewed politics?
Okay, which one should I answer first? I
Whatever
think I
stem
will
you
go
can
by
do.
the second question is easier for me to answer because I think, as I said, that I completely give the full credit to my book agent, the book bakers. They did a fantastic job, and Mr. Suhel Mathur, he deserves all the credit. He believed in my experimentation, so he deserves the credit. And the first one, the first question that you are asking, what will I like to say? Can you repeat the question again once?
Yes, sure, Anandajit. The question reads, what should we do to spread awareness about the impact of colonization and British rule?
A deep sense of new cultural revolution. I think there is something deeply wrong with the cultural setup, and I think we are culturally colonized. So we need to completely rechange the education structure and everything. And education is the only way. It should start from culture, and by culture, I don't mean just glossy shows. Culture is much beyond that. So I think it is more nuanced, and these are the uncomfortable questions through which we have to go through.
Can I add something? May I add something?
Please.
I think it's very, very important to not alter history. History has to be presented the way it is. And along with that, if we are talking about presenting British colonization for everything it was, and along with that, also looking at India post-independence and what India has done within India post-independence. Uh, that so the presentation of India's history and the way in which India has evolved, that there can't be any kind of sugarcoating, there can't be any kind of tweaks, and we won't be doing this part, but we will do this part, we will amplify this part, and we're going to not talk about this part. That can't be. There has to be authentic documentation. And for that, I think, given the kind of, I think it's very, very important then to have independent spaces, independent forums, where information can be vetted, neutral spaces where there isn't any kind of, where it's just about giving free, inclusive access to information.
Thank you so much. I think Devika is online, and I hope she's happy with the answers. But Shuktara and Anandajit, it was such a brilliant discussion. We really enjoyed, your conversation. We learned so much. Hopefully the viewers have enjoyed themselves and they've evolved. So thank you very much, and wish both of you all the very best in your individual endeavors. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.